There's a disturbing reality hidden in this normal photo. Can you see it? In the late 1960s, the Robertson family had been following the voyage of Robin Knox Johnston, who would become the first person to sail around the world solo. And so one day, Dougal's 9-year-old son Neil asked the innocent question, quote, "Daddy's a sailor, why don't we sail around the world too?" When Neil asked Dougal this question, it ignited a firestorm within him. By the year 1971, the family had rid themselves of their failing farm and they moved into a 43-foot or 13-meter wooden sailboat named the Lucette. About a year into their voyage at this point, the family had just started to enjoy a fresh pot of coffee in the morning when all of a sudden they heard this massive bang on the bottom of their boat. The boat was kind of like lifted out of the water a little bit, and then they heard another bang. Douglas then watched 3 killer whales, one with its head split open, spewing blood, swim behind the Robertsons' boat. Douglas then peered down into the hatch and he saw his father standing in water that had risen up to his waist. And in that very moment, Dougal screamed what are probably the 2 most dreaded words that any sailor could possibly hear, which were abandon ship. And so as they're all just crammed in there now, Douglas blurted out that the family needed to paddle towards the doldrums if they were gonna survive. They had this plan, and of course that brought some hope, but the reality was it didn't really bring that much of it. So the dinghy and especially this inflatable life raft were constantly taking on water, which meant that the family was always sitting and even trying to sleep in salt water, essentially. And by the way, this is also around the time that the life raft finally gave in. This meant that now all 6 of them were crammed into this tiny dinghy, and space was so limited that everyone kind of just stayed in their assigned spot and there was no room to even stand up or move around. I mean, they were sleeping on top of each other. They were trying to go to the bathroom in this situation. I mean, can you imagine? The family floated through the Pacific Ocean for 17 days before they finally lost that life raft, and then they spent an additional 20 days crammed inside of this tiny dinghy. After 38 days at sea, the captain of the Japanese Toka Maru II pulled up alongside the Robertsons and tossed them this dirty, smelly rope. That marked the moment that the family nightmare was finally over.